how does this fit in with the brony thing?
No.
You're so old.
No. God, you're like Mel Gibson in Forever Young.
Yeah, but like, that end part.
So, it's the end of the year, which means lists. And lists of lists.
Yeah.
And then award shows, which are lists with lights. That's how I always see them. I mean, I like doing my top 10 lists. I'm never a huge fan of trying to claim Game of the Year.
Yeah.
You're the exclusive winner of all the year,
Well,
game.
it's tough because if you were to look at my Game of the Year contenders this year, it would be unfair to pit them up against one another. It's the most apples to oranges thing in the history of time to put Dishonored up against Dyad or put.
That's one of those things. Most well-balanced people have varied tastes. You know, I mean, some people would like only one thing in one particular category, but and video games especially are so completely just diverse. Yeah.
Well, unless you watch a video game awards show, in which case you know that the best video games ever in every award show are always going to be newest Halo, newest Assassin's Creed, newest Madden.
Yeah, it's such a weird.
Well, I mean, but you're speaking of, and not just a particular award show. There's always, I think, that fear because we're serving this audience that is a little testy. Do you want to go with testy?
I haven't noticed.
Yeah,
Everybody
let's say
seems
testy.
pleasant.
And there's that, hold on, do we have to do it for the audience thinks is right? Or do we, kind of go this way? Because I was notorious for being a huge advocate for what was once our Game of the Year back at that place I used to work at. It was Fable 2. Knowing full well how flawed the game was. But also knowing that in terms of an experience I had had that year, and many other people felt the same way, it was just kind of unparalleled in terms of its fun and its sense of invention and adventure. And that's the whole thing, is that we're looking at some incredible games like Journey, which, 2.5 hours?
Yeah.
And if you're looking at games as products, well, I didn't get enough for my money in that. I need to have my Assassin's Creed 3 because it's hours upon hours and hours of tree running and stuff.
There's a thing you see in other award shows, specifically I think the Oscars, where they will give people awards for sort of like late awards. Like they gave Tarantino, they gave him a nod for Inglourious Basterds when like that's not his best work. Like that should have been for Pulp Fiction, but they snubbed him back then. And then what was it? The Hurt Locker. What's her name?
Catherine Bigelow.
Yeah, Catherine Bigelow. James Cameron's. She got the award for the Hurt Locker, but that was for Point Break.
Right.
She was getting respect for Point Break.
It was
she should
for
have got
Blue Steel with Jamie Lee Curtis.
With video games, I feel like a lot of the time, by the time a game becomes like it really gets the kind of hype train running behind it, it's because of sequels. It's like it's built up some steam, and that's a weird thing because it is sort of like iterations on software at that point.
No. It's
but then trying to give an objective opinion on something, a lot of the times you kind of have to step back and be like, as a piece of software that stands alone, how is this?
Yes. We all kind of know what a movie is.
Right.
I've said this a lot. We all kind of know what a book is. And if you read, Crime and Punishment, and I read Crime and Punishment, let's assume it's the same translator, we've read the same thing.
Yeah.
And so it's kind of easier as a group to kind of say, that was really good and probably better than that. That's a much harder thing to do with games.
Oh no, game is like, it's like here, did you enjoy the play? And the other person didn't actually see a play. They ate a plate of spaghetti.
Yeah, no.
And then the other person sitting at the table, they were playing with a dodgeball. It's a different thing.
This is, I think, once again, games were not this diverse once upon a time. They were kind of like one person could play them, and there was a beginning, and there was an end, and there was a process with which you got there, and you could kind of use this older convention of how we judge things. Take Walking Dead, for example. I mean, it's interactive entertainment, but is this really a game? I mean, can you really say that this thing gets to go up against Halo 4?
Yeah, well, I mean, I think what's super funny about it is the two things that people complain about the most in video games. It is quick time events
and zombies.
And long cutscenes. Zombies, 2B. Yeah. And then you put them together and you're just like, well, this is brilliant.
Yeah. I think the thing that's interesting about The Walking Dead specifically is the fact that people are giving it props for its writing. It is giving it a lot of props for its writing. If you compare the writing in that to I mean, I played a little bit of it. I haven't gotten fully sucked into it, so just bearing that in mind. I mean, you compare that to the writing in a really good movie, or a really good book, or a really good comic, and it's like, is it on par with that?
But what do we mean by writing? Writing is such a tricky thing. Again, especially in a game like that where you have dialogue choices, it does branch out.
I don't think that's writing. I think that's writing, along with art direction and with voice acting. Like,
but look at this. The Walking Dead. You can look at it and say the writing, but I could look at Journey, and I think of Journey as having writing the same way like the Red Balloon has writing.
Yes.
Right?
Easy.
Journey is a brilliantly written game too, but if you had like a best writing in video game, what are you gonna do? Like, what are you gonna do?
Games are so Wagnerian in how they're supposed to be this kind of unity of these different sensory effects, be it the writing, be it the sound, the visuals, and our ability to interact with it, that to then pull out those discrete parts is somehow that they can be appreciated independent of how they interact with everything else is kind of absurd. And that's why, like, using like the Academy Awards motif to grant awards to things doesn't work all that well, because it's like what best writing will go to something like Assassin's Creed 3 or Mass Effect, where like the writing is so on display. And
I like, I do like the idea of an industry, celebrating what's great about the industry.
Oh no, which I think is good.
I think that's great. And when you're trying to do it, and this is the problem. This is why you and I always get into arguments about scoring systems on reviews, is because you have to quantify these accolades somehow.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You have to break this out somehow. And so the only way people can look at it and kind of think to break it apart is, well, what are the parts of this medium? There's a visual part. There's an interactive part. There's an audio.
See, I like that.
That's
I like
the old way.
Yeah.
When you
but
break
how
it down,
how would we like to see a video game award show or a video game best of list broken up?
I don't think it works with nominees, which is kind of makes it not really a very good awards show. But I think that's the problem.
No, I know.
Is that a high five or
that? Just because
Sure, I'm here.
And that's because I haven't killed you.
Yeah.
I think we just need to high five.
I think that there's this weird sort of democratic approach to awards show. But if you're going to do an award show properly, you need to have sort of a fascist approach, and you're like, this game kicks ass because of this.
Yeah. No.
An award show should be like like
someone who's hosted a Best of the Year show for I don't know how long, it was always kind of a painful experience because we have nominees. It's like, no, but there's no academy.
Yeah.
There's no committee. And it's like you're drawing a comparison to something that is really more appealing for the glamour of it than any sense that you're really bestowing credibility.
You're celebrating celebration, and then it becomes just.
And so I've always tried to use the term shortlist because it's a little more. It's less dramatic, and you're not nominating, you're not fostering somebody up. But really, I like the idea of shortlist because I would prefer to do the British way of like the Booker Prize and their music prizes.
Yeah.
4 people go into a room and fight for a month, and then they come out bloodied and bruised with something that they've agreed on.
Food in the room?
No.
Well,
Gross.
English food. I mean, some beans.
Well, that explains all the blood.
A lot of boiled things.
Oh man.
But I think you're right. It is this kind of. I think that there's a process by which a lot of these things are done. It's only because no one has stopped to ask why the hell we're doing it this way. And
well, it's
as it is with a lot of life.
That's the problem, is that it's tradition, which is exactly what I think games suffer from. They act like they are the bastard child of TV and movies and toys, and it's like in a lot of ways they are, but at the same time they are pushing the envelope so much further as a form of expressive media. And it's really stupid to be like, oh, that's how they do the Emmys, and that's how they do the Oscars.
Yeah.
And why in God's name would we want to be like
Well,
those?
here's like best moment.
Yeah.
Like that thing because I've had best moments this year. Those are the things that stick in my mind. The entirety of the game doesn't stick with me. You know? I don't remember every single aspect there was of, say, Mass Effect 3, but I remember a couple of moments.
You know what? I would love to see awards, and it's obvious there's going to be some politics involved. They are going to be probably skimming off the top and being like, oh, this one sold this much. I want somebody to come on and say, like, oh, Black Ops 2 sold more copies of anything than anything is. It sold more copies than since the car. It is the most successful thing. I want somebody to come on and say something insightful about what it is doing right. I want someone to explain that's what game criticism is. It's supposed to be like
there is a reason it's doing this.
Yeah. You're not a teacher who's making red marks on a paper trying to explain what's bad there. It's like you're trying to find what is good, and I would love for somebody to jump in and just be like,
because criticism somehow has been turned into a negative because I guess people say, stop criticizing me. But no. To be a critic is, it's not about. A lot of problems in like scoring systems, I've seen this a lot, is that people start to look at it like it's a gymnastics routine, and that all games come in with a 10. And for every flaw, you start to ding it. And
when in reality,
there are many flawed games that are a hell of a lot more fun than games that don't do anything wrong.
If you're like, this is an awards show, but it's actually going to be an obstacle course for all the developers involved with the game, and the losers will all be killed. That might be a little bit too far out for somebody.
Yeah,
so they give out stupid
pull it back a little
shapes.
bit.
Like
They give them an aggro crack
where
and
it
they send them
becomes an
home.
Electronic Arts green light process.
Go on.
I'm seeing this here. I'm seeing this, it's just like a 3-hour live event.
Yeah.
Obstacle course, bunch of dev teams, they have their pitch, but it has nothing to do with the merits of it. Whoever survives the obstacle course.
I feel like that's
Think about who would have to be on that development, like Carl Lewis.
But I feel like that's how
would be
EA
a guy you
greenlights
want
a lot
as
of their
like one
titles.
Of the lead designers.
I would love to see an awards ceremony where the panel is a bunch of non-gamers. I'd like to see a bunch of celebrities, and I'd like to see them all get together and try and come up with what they think is the best game of the year. And they'd all be they'd all be paid inordinate amonts of money, and they'd all be forced to sit through this, but they would have...
that happened, I think it was either the GDC or the IGF, where they gave a jury position to like a professor who had never really played video games before, and like when you were like reading her reviews of everything, it was like Mario, bright colors, really enjoyed it, seemed kind of fun, and then it was like all these strange opinions.
But it is neat.
But I like
that. I love that zero level reading. Like you just don't have any of all the luggage of context, and it's just, I need to find someone who doesn't even know about Mario. Imagine getting to study someone who doesn't know that.
It would be like Nell. You would be like Liam Neeson in Nell, and you would just have to find somebody who had not been in society for 20 years.
I hate this idea I just put out
strange,
there.
like twin language.
So, what's game of the year?
I can't say yet. There's still
We should do it like Game Informer and just do our top 2,000 of the year or whatever. That way we don't have to leave anybody out.
I like that.
Yeah.